everyone, welcome back to my writing realm. It has been quite some time since I've posted a video. Life has been obviously a little bit crazy. As you can see, I'm filming in a completely different location than what I normally do. There's a few reasons for that, which I'm not going to get into, but it has taken me some time to figure out where I was going to record and how I was going to do that. First, let's talk about writing. Well, I have been working on 300 Man that I've talked about before. I have not had a ton of time to work on this. So once every 2 or 3 weeks, I spend, a couple hours and work on my writing. Now, the downside is to taking such long breaks in my story is that I've distanced myself from the main character. So now, once again, I have gone back to the beginning just to reread and do some light editing just to kind of get myself back into that character. I've tried going into Word and making notes about this main character, hoping that it might, get me back into the thought process and the wording and the language that this character uses. But I didn't have much luck, so I did go back to the beginning again and started rereading it. But now that I have gotten to that point where I have restarted again working on this project, I feel like I'm finally getting somewhere with it. I've got some ideas coming to me. I am a pantser, so I don't have anything plotted out. I'm just kind of winging it, and I'm okay with that. So I've done some exciting things with the family this year, and one of my favorite things that I look forward to every 2 years is the local medieval festival. So this medieval festival is outside at this very beautiful church in Cooks Creek, Manitoba, and we have jousting tournaments and sword fighting, and obviously there's horses everywhere, which is my favorite animal other than, dragons. Plus, there's a ton of food. There's people in costumes. There's a lot of elves, surprisingly enough. And it really makes for a fun environment and a ton of fun. Now, this day was excruciatingly hot. The humidex, or the temperature with the humidity, was about 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So it was very difficult to breathe. You feel like you're sweating the instant you go outside, but let's not talk about me sweating. While I was there, I watched the jousting, I had some food, I was glutened, which really sucks. I'm celiac, so I can't have gluten, flour, barley, that kind of stuff. But I had to take my chances because I had to eat something and I was starving, and so I had this hot dog or sausage. It was smoky, that's what it was. It was a smoky, and I guess it must have had gluten in it. But anyways, I wanted to go to a very specific vendor to get these really cool earrings that have the point to make it look like they're elf ears. But by the time I made it over to that vendor, she was completely sold out. So I was very disappointed. But then I went to another vendor that I go to every time I see them, called Ragnar the Trader, and I bought myself a brand new dragon bracelet. Very exciting. Now, there were also some authors at a booth, so I went to check out the local authors and I bought 4 books. And I didn't check with my husband first, so afterwards I told him, like, hey, honey, I kind of spent some money on some more books. But it was really fun, and I'm really excited to read those books. I really find going there inspirational, like the environment, the theme, the excitement, the energy, the costumes, everything just really fuels my imagination. So the other thing we did this summer was we did go to Portage, Manitoba, and we went to this air show. It was so cool. It was the first time I've ever been to an air show. We had like F-18s flying over our heads, and it is so loud. It is such a rush, and I would definitely do it again. Luckily, that day was not quite as humid. However, I forgot to put sunscreen on my husband and my kids, and so they got sunburnt. I also got a little bit of sunburn, but not near as bad as everybody else, and I feel pretty guilty about that. So, one of the challenges that I've had as a writer, as I'm sure a lot of you have too, is feeling confident that what you are writing is going to be enjoyed. There's what you want to write, and then there's how it turns out on paper or screen. So I was doing a lot of thinking about this. When I just write and let it go without even focusing on the level or the skill or the type or the style of communication that I'm trying to get out there, it always ends up a lot lighter, younger sounding, and that's really not what I wanted. What I want to do is write adult high fantasy, and it's going to have violence and death and maybe some intimacy. And I want to get to that point. But for some reason, every time I start writing this story and I show it to fellow authors or writers, they always come back telling me it feels like it's a YA book. But the content that I'm going to be putting in these books is a lot older. So I really need to sit down, take my story yet again, and try to see if I can make it sound older or for an older audience. Now, I don't know that it really needs to happen, but I want to explore my options, explore my skill, and see sort of what level I'm most comfortable with. It could be the language I'm using, it could be the sentence structure, it could just be the scene itself. Maybe I'm not describing things the way that I need to get that across to the audience that I'm going for. So have you ever had this internal struggle with yourself where you're not entirely sure, is this going to reach the audience that I intend it to? Is it too young sounding? Is it too light? Is it too much description? Is it too heavy? Is it too dark? How do you overcome this? This is something I'm working on right now, and I really hope that I can get to that point where I'm comfortable with what I am putting out there. So back to crime thrillers. I kept talking about in the past about completely stopping the crime thrillers and moving directly to high fantasy. But the problem is I do have some people who actually enjoy my crime thrillers. I know a couple of people locally who really enjoy my work and are looking forward to the next crime thriller book, and they're aware of 300 Man and are anxiously awaiting this book. And so I feel like now that I've started to work on, an audience, it might not be a massive audience, but it is starting, and the audience is enjoying what I'm putting out, and I find it less challenging to write crime thrillers. I don't think I want to stop anymore. I just don't want it to be my only focus. Now, of course, here we go again. I'm putting way too much on myself because I really want to write high fantasy, and that's where it started. When I first started writing, it was all about achieving that goal of writing a high fantasy epic novel series. And I'm not there yet. It's been a very long road, and I am just not where I wanted to be. But crime thrillers was the first thing that I really published. It's the first self-publishing adventure where I learned the process of self-publishing, how I started my publishing company, A Sable Book Night. And now I'm just at that point where I don't think I can just throw it away. But how do I make time for it? I work full time. I have a family. I've got medical conditions. There's just no possible way I'm going to make time for all of this. So I have a lot of thinking and planning to do. I know I should schedule my writing time, and I really feel that that's one of the best ways to, accomplish anything. However, between work, medical condition, there's been a lot of family emergencies lately, and I just have not been making any time to write other than, a couple hours every few weeks. So I have to work on this. This is something that I need to do for myself. Make time to write, whether it's scheduled or just saying, hey, sometime during this frame of time, I have to write and make it happen. I don't know how I'm going to make this happen yet. So if you have any advice for me, please let me know. The write every day doesn't work for me. The schedule keeps changing, things change, my health changes, family emergencies keep happening. So I don't know. I don't know how to make this happen. So I'm open to your suggestions. Now, one final thing, I want to remind you all that Sable Book Night, the publishing company that I started, is starting to publish anthologies. And the very first publication is called Portals. And currently, Sable Book Night is accepting submissions for free on a short story about a portal. This could be a portal into a different time, a different world, high fantasy world, science fiction, wherever you want this character or these characters to go, throw them through a portal, see what happens. If you're looking for more information about this open submissions call, check out sablebooknight.ca, and Booknight shares the K. Well, that's all I have for you today. I hope you have a great rest of your afternoon, evening, night, or whatever, and just keep writing.